Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Co.Lab Sound. We have a slight change in workshop this afternoon. I was trying to get an Artsmesh workshop together for our group, but unfortunately I was having some technical issues. So Mark from the Cyborg Art Collective has been lovely to drop in my stead, and we're going to talk about the 3D soundscapes that he's been working on and the glitch collaborative project as well. We have a few of the artists in the Zoom call, so we might pop up with some questions, but I will hand it over now to Mark and we'll get started.
Hello everyone. I hope everyone has been enjoying the festival like I have. So I'm gonna start with a little introduction about what Cyborg Art Collective does. For this I will share my screen. So this is our team photo. The Cyborg Art Collective is actually a collaboration between different artists all around the world, and with every project different people join, so this is kind of an open collaboration. And we do more kind of research and experiment based artworks that focus mainly on technological influences on everyday life. And with this, we often make our own computer programs, like the 3D sound space we made for the Fringe Art Festival. And we felt it would be also interesting to give a little insight in how these things work in principle. One thing to realize is when dealing with digital objects and digital platforms, you're basically working with numeric values, and you can see it as numbers just arranged in certain orders in which you have to work quite mathematically to build stuff. And with different projects, the programs can be the artworks themselves. Sometimes it's something we use in a performance, and also we made computer programs that generate art. Don't want to bring back too many bad memories about math homework, so I won't go into the details of all these kinds of formulas, but the interesting part is if you work with these things, it gives you a lot of freedom to create and to be creative with math, which is always a fun thing to say with my accent. If I'm not careful, people think I'm talking about drugs, but I'm talking about numbers and formulas and statistics, geometry, and this kind of stuff. First off, I will show a little example of another project, a collaboration we did called the Glitch Swap generative art game. So this is a video that shows kind of these transitions you can do with manipulating data. So this was part of the glitch swap collaboration. It was started by Lee Shun-Lun and Orlando Me. And we invited a couple of other artists in with other kinds of practices and their different takes on making art. And the game basically works you start with an image, 500 by 500 pixels, either black or white, and you do some modifications with it. You work with this data to create something new, and you pass it to another artist who does the same and passes it on to the next one. And you do a couple of rounds of these chains where the object passes through these lists of people. We're currently on the second round, in which we added another rule where we have to always translate between digital and analog media and back to digital again. So to further manipulate the data and create new stuff. Another project in which we also worked with these principles of translating data from one form to another is the project Keycode, which we also did for this festival. And I'm going to first show a little recording of these kind of experimental performances we did. So this was for Project Keycode. And with this, the translation is more between the data of a keyboard, the MIDI data, to text. And we use this as an extra layer to digital communication, in which you can use the instrument as a way to express yourself. So you can say different words with different sounds. This was originally part of a bigger installation, which consists of two grand piano-shaped desks, which you can then use for a performance that is a combination of a dialogue and a musical performance. And we made this completely online version, which now can be used just all over the world to connect with different people wherever they are. If they just have to have a keyboard, and they can use it to communicate with music. And so the main main topic for today is the 3D sound space. And the interesting part is how this got started. Was a conversation I had with a friend who is an economist, and he organizes these in his free time these language cafes to practice speaking other languages. It was more an informal setting. He also experienced with this coronavirus that he had to find creative solutions like we have to do with this festival, and try to do these meetings online. And he immediately noticed that it turned less informal, more like it seemed more like a language course. So I got the idea, why would this be? Why does this work differently with a group online than with a group just sitting in a bar talking amongst each other? And the answer I thought was that sound has direction in real life. When a lot of people are talking, you can just turn your head to the person you want to listen to and zone out other voices around you. So, this direction of sound, I wondered, could this be programmed? Which prompted him to think, well, is there even a market for this? Something I don't really have a good answer to at the moment. I still don't. And which also brings this weird way of reasoning as an artist. We have this question, this idea, and we just thought, well, we just try it. And he reasons more like, well, should you invest all that time into something if you don't know if there's a market for it? But we did, and we created this 3D sound space which tries to use this direction of sound, so you can play more with the spatial aspect of you also see in sound installations. So I'm going to show a little video as an example of how this works, and afterwards we're going to look at the space itself and see if we can build something with it. So that also has these different spaces that contain the works of the Glitch Swap game and the Exquisite Corpse exhibition, and you can view them online and move through the space. Um, See this little logo on the left side is the JavaScript library we use to build this. Felt it would be important also to show, because this is an open source thing you can download, which people invested a lot of time in building. And if you actually want to learn a bit of JavaScript, I would advise also looking at this at P5.js, and you can more easily build stuff like this. So let's go to the website, and I will show a little bit of how it works. maybe, I don't know if there are any questions already.
I haven't seen any pop up in the chat, but I'll keep an eye on the Facebook uh, live Facebook feed. And if anybody does have any questions, feel free to pop them there as well.
Okay, yeah, if there are any questions, feel free to just interrupt me, just ask me if something is not clear. So with the space, we can log into specific spaces. And I made this separate one for this workshop. It takes a little time to load. And we immediately see this robot. We placed this in earlier. I'm just gonna run through how the system works and how we can build stuff with it, and afterwards we can try what we can come up with. So using the control key, you can create an object, and with the mouse wheel, you can select which kind of object you want. These can be simple geometric shapes, like cubes or a sphere, but we also have some 3D models. This one is a nice one. It's a brain. And with the Z and the X key, you can switch between the different options of manipulating the object. So we're gonna flip it on its side. It still has these little things in it which don't work completely like they should, because we built it in a pretty short time, but it works, which is always nice. Let's see. Can choose the option to give it a texture. Let's see if we can find the correct one. And just by walking through the space, you can carry the object to any place you want to put it. Let's give the robot a brain. Let's move up the position. Needs to be rotated a bit. I think this is the front of the brain. So we now placed it on his head. With the T key, we can also add an event, something that happens when you approach the object. Maybe it's interesting to try putting in a sound. We set it to audio, choose a file, should give the file better names. But I think this piano sound can give it a proximity. If you, at what point does it start playing? This seems fine. And with the space key, we place it in space, and it automatically is saved. So anyone that logs in now will see the thing we built. So I'm getting a bit of a lag on the system. I hope that the computer isn't freezing.
I think we're having some slight technical issues. Mark's computer has frozen as we were setting up, so we might have to stop and start as we go. I will slightly fill time while we're sorting this out. If anybody has any questions about kind of how these 3D soundscape works, or any kind of prior kind of projects that he was talking about, I'll be tallying questions through the Facebook Live. So either do watch it back and ask away, or if you're just catching up to us now, keep tuning in for some more explanations about how the project kind of works and how he's able to kind of make objects start and stop and create this kind of 3D space for us to kind of play in. We'll be back in just one moment. Okay, we're just sorting out some tech issues still at the moment. I'm just going to talk a little bit about how my experience with these kind of 3D soundscapes have been, I guess, on the user end for this project. As Mark was kind of talking previously, he kind of created this area where we're each able to log in and kind of play around by placing different objects. And it's been quite interesting being able to walk through those spaces and see, you know, how that actually proximity and distance works. I'm just having Mark starting to join in back now, so it'll be one moment. We'll be back in just one moment. I'm just having some issues getting Mark back in the call. We're going to stop the stream for just a moment and we'll be back shortly.